Welcome to the second episode of Sixth Sense. The topic of this episode is, can we forgive Islamic terrorists? The question is, why we are talking about this? Is it the right time? Or should you wait another century to forgive them? No. Simply, no, we can't. To introduce you what has been lost by the atrocious activities of Islamic terrorists around the world, I could simply outline the losses in a simple sentence. The loss by Islamic terrorism is enormous, uncountable, and unimaginable. Let me remind you one thing. Can you remember the destruction of Palmyra civilization in Syria by ISIS group? Or can you remind the destruction of historical Buddha statues in Afghanistan? The centuries-old Buddha statue? Can you remind? And I could give you an outline in another way. The accounting ledger of losses occurred by Islamic terrorist groups, insurgent groups, radical groups around the world are not only uncountable, at the same time you can't imagine, because it is covering rape, systematic murder, torture, abduction, destruction of historical sites, proselytization, changing the historical names of places, eviction, forced labor, child soldier recruitment, and abuse of children, girls, elderly people, and disabled people. I could give you some specific example, the destruction they did in some countries. I could give you some specific example and specific name. ISIS has destroyed continuously for more than 8 years in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Kurdistan, Afghanistan, and in other nearby countries, including Iran and Jordan as well. And they have evicted an entire ethnic group, Christian ethnic minority group from Iraq. The name of the group is Yazidi people. They have massacred more than 5,000 people in a single day. The Yazidi population entirely had been evicted from their ancient and inherited lands. Syria. In Syria, the ISIS and An Nusrah front has destroyed millions of households, civilizations, especially the Palmyra civilization. They have destroyed. They have persecuted people, they have killed, they have massacred, they have bombed in the schools and hospitals, parks, museums, they have destroyed. And the list is really unfinishable. You can finish. In Yemen, the Yemeni people are suffering for years by the destruction and insurgencies by Al-Qaeda and ISIS groups, which led them in engaging a war with the Saudi-led coalition. In Afghanistan, I don't need to mention you, I don't need to remind you. Everything is in your brain. A civilized country. A country in 60s and 70s, Kabul University led in this part of Asia in terms of academic glory and magnitude, but this cultured country has been destroyed by Taliban and Al-Qaeda terrorist groups. Women have been denied from their basic rights, right to movement, right to education, right to speak. Everything has been destroyed. Now, Afghanistan is experiencing the outcomes of insurgencies, the activities, atrocious activities of terrorist groups, which is done by Taliban and Al-Qaeda Islamic terrorist groups. In Bangladesh, we have 64 districts in Bangladesh. Among 64 districts, in 63 districts, the terrorist group JMB has bombed at the same time in entire countries. And Hijbut Tahrir at the same time, the Holy Artisan tragedy and other terrorist activities have been led by them. They have orchestrated separatists and insurgencies in Myanmar by ARSA and ALEKIN terrorist groups, which led Rohingya communities to be evicted from their motherlands. And the loss is really, really enormous. In India, they are fighting with Islamic terrorist groups like Hizbut Tahrir, Lashkar-e-Taiba in every day. And they are really, really tired, because this is a disease, a cancer, and sometimes you cannot find a solution. And the loss is really, really high, enormous, uncountable. In Pakistan, they have lost their properties, their people, and the best example is the killing of famous Qawwali singer Amjad Sabri. And the most atrocious one is an attempt to kill Nobel laureate, humanists, human rights worker Malala Yousafzai, who survived, luckily, their attack. So still now, can we forgive them? Can we forgive their atrocious activities around the world? I can't even make the list, because from America to Georgia, from Australia to New Zealand, from Africa to North America, every continent, every nation experienced the losses done by Islamic terrorist groups. Can we forgive them? No. Simply, we can't.